Welcome to Athens. This city holds 4 million people and has been continuously inhabited for over 3,500 years. Up there is our destination, the Acropolis. While it looks like a singular monument today, this rock has functioned as a fortress, a church, a mosque, and even a gunpowder magazine. Many of the government buildings in Washington, D.C. adopted this aesthetic, yet the original engineering techniques used on this hill remain entirely unique. Understanding the Acropolis requires looking past the ruins to the specific optical and structural choices that have kept these buildings standing for 25 centuries. Before we head up the monumental entrance, watch your step. 25 centuries of foot traffic have polished this marble until it is as slick as a buttered bowling lane. Navigating these 300 stairs in the Mediterranean heat requires significant physical effort, especially as you reach the steeper sections of the ascent. The architects intended for visitors to feel this exertion, creating a physical threshold that separates the city below from the sacred ground above. This is the Propylaea, a gateway designed by the architect Mnesicles around 437 BC. Construction stopped after 5 years because Athens diverted its budget to the Peloponnesian War. The wing on the left served as the Pinacotheke. Long before the modern museum, the Greeks used this room to display panel paintings. This specific vantage point through the columns is no accident. Mnesicles designed the entrance so your very first glimpse of the Parthenon frames it at a dramatic 3/4 angle. This forced perspective created a cinematic reveal of the temple's scale and depth, thousands of years before the invention of the camera. The Parthenon, dedicated to Athena Parthenos, and constructed with a precision that makes its heavy stone appear weightless. While the building appears perfectly horizontal and vertical, it actually contains no straight lines. The foundation floor actually curves upward by 2.3 inches in the center to prevent it from appearing to sag. The columns bulge slightly in the middle, a technique called entasis, and lean inward, perfectly calculated to meet 1.5 miles above the roof. The interior was designed to house a 38-foot-tall statue of Athena. She was covered in 2,500 pounds of gold, a display of wealth worth roughly $75 million today. The Parthenon is an exercise in engineering for the human eye, utilizing deliberate mathematical deviations to create the appearance of perfection. Today, much of the monument is encased in scaffolding and heavy cranes as part of an ongoing structural intervention. This isn't simple erosion. The Parthenon stood intact for 2 millennia until Ottoman forces used the interior to store gunpowder during a siege. In 1687, a Venetian cannonball struck the gunpowder. The explosion blew the center outward, destroying more in 1 second than the previous 2 millennia combined. Current restoration teams are essentially acting out a massive architectural jigsaw puzzle, identifying original marble blocks and returning them to their specific coordinates. The jagged edges and missing sections visible today are the physical record of that 17th century artillery strike. Moving to the Erechtheion, we find the Caryatids, 6 stone women who function as columns supporting the weight of the porch. To reinforce the stone at its narrowest point, the neck, sculptors carved thick braids of hair down the figures' backs. This hairstyle solved a structural engineering requirement. While 5 of these figures are in the local museum, 1 remains in London. She was removed by Lord Elgin in 1801, leaving a permanent vacancy in the original lineup. On the southwest edge of the plateau sits the small temple of Athena Nike. Nike means victory, the same name adopted by the modern shoe company. This cliff is also the legendary site where King Aegeus threw himself into the sea after a tragic misunderstanding, giving the Aegean its name. These mythological narratives provided the branding for our modern geography and global corporate identities. Looking out over the modern city, it's clear how much has changed, yet the skyline is still anchored by this single rock. The builders used hand tools and geometry to create structures that have retained their visual power for 25 centuries. Remarkably, the core of this entire complex was constructed in a window of just 15 years. This plateau saw the invention of democracy, the birth of Western theater, and the refinement of geometry into architecture. standing here means standing at the source of those ideas. Thank you for visiting, and remember, even if we didn't invent tip